Here's something people don't want to hear about immigration, and it comes from somebody who used to be very neutral on the topic of immigration. I didn't really care until they started busing illegal immigrants to cities like New York, and then the people there were like, stop, this is bad, and then everybody was like, wait, I thought you said this was good, and then, how do you make sense of that other than saying, okay, they've been lying to us this entire time, illegal immigration really is this big problem. And so, here's what you don't want to hear. The reason people can lie to us about immigration and convince us that illegal immigration is actually a good thing is because of emotional manipulation. More specifically, it's about this appeal to purity that a lot of people believe in, where we think that things have to be ideal, and they can't be. For example, there's a problem that I like to call the problem of noble morality. You will probably chastise a person if he does something good only because he wants a reward. You will say, well, he's not doing it for the right reasons, but what are the right reasons? If somebody does something because it alleviates a sense of guilt or makes them feel better, then that's the same as doing it for a reward. So morality can't be emotional then, right? But the alternative, you could say, is that morality is cold and uncaring. And then eventually you arrive at the conclusion that morality cannot exist, but that is only because of your naive and idealistic preconceived notions of how it has to exist if it does exist. And so the actual resolution is accepting how things work in reality rather than believing that they have to conform to your utopic fantasies. Morality can be uncaring. We don't have to cry a river for somebody who blows up an orphanage just because it really puts a damper on his mood that he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. In the same way, it may seem reasonable to say, well, this is unfair, therefore we shouldn't do that, but it's just not. When you say it's unfair that these people were born in that nation and these people are born in this nation, so why aren't people from that nation allowed to freely go over to this nation? I can turn around and say that it's unfair that some children are born into wealth, some children are born into poverty. But that doesn't magically make communism a good idea. That doesn't mean that we have to ask people to adopt children proportional to their wealth. Because the issue with communism, essentially what that is that you don't end up redistributing wealth, you end up redistributing poverty. You will make every family poor by taking care of dozens of kids. The emphasis then should be built on building people up, not tearing people down. But of course, that actually requires thinking, which makes the pro-immigration position so tantalizing. You get to do nothing and pretend that you care about people, rather than actually addressing the problem of why these people are fleeing their countries. But I suppose the reason they're fleeing their countries is because a lot of these South American countries are socialist, and that's why, and you don't want to admit that, and so that's why you're pro-immigration.